most developed already, and the state with the most potential, when Bihar and when Bhutan and even Nepal were quite backward, Sikkim was seen as this well-connected, educated area, right? It already had that potential. So first, tell us quickly how Sikkim has delivered on that potential. And because you have worked on documents like the Human Development Report, which is now what, 20 years old?
Yep.
It's like 20, even that is 20 years old. You worked on the economic survey. So first telling us how Sikkim has performed to its potential that was seen in the 50s. And then also briefly talk about why is it important to have documents like the HDR and the economic survey. How much does Sikkim need to plan intelligently what it plans to do next, looking into the future?
Well, thank you. Let me add to what Karma and what Kunalda mentioned about why we do not figure in the op-ed page. Since I have written in almost all the national newspapers in the op-ed page, I know if there are good contributions from Sikkimis, it would do well. I think they would all appreciate and publish it. It could be in Hindu or Times of India or Economic Times. But what I find when I come back to this place, when I go back to my place in Darjeeling, and when I work here is, somehow we have not been able to emphasize on knowledge, right? हाम्रो काम चाहिँ फापरको खेती, दालको खेती गर्ने भयो, ज्ञानको खेती चाहिँ कसले पनि नगर्ने भयो. So one of the slogans in Sikkim University was, now हाम्रो ज्ञानको खेती गर्नुपर्छ, and ज्ञानको खेती गर्नुको लागि you must keep at least one bookshelf full of books. Children would go smell the book, नाकमा लगाएर किताब सुन्नु नै नलेज बढ्नु हो. हरेक किताबको आफ्नो आफ्नै गन्ध र सुगन्ध हुन्छ भनेर touching itself is a big thing भनेर हामीले भन्छ. So please, readership is very, very interesting. We must really do this. I immediately go to what Pema asked me to do. You know, by the way, Hooker, J.D. Hooker, his counterpart in England was
Darwin.
Charles Darwin. And I have had some documents, they exchanged letters from Darjeeling, Sikkim with Charles Darwin. Can you imagine? Those days in 1949-50. And I have got some of the documents they exchanged during those times. Why Sikkim is in the forefront today is a big story and a very outstanding story. Our Honorable Chief Minister Prem Singh Tamangju, when he was briefing the 16th Finance Commission just about 3-4 months back, he made a very significant statement. He said, Sikkim is the most integrated state in the country, but the least connected state in the country. And absolutely true, right? Because it carried all the messages what the real development policymakers, experts should do. Let me give you some examples of how we started, because I am a student of economic history also. You know, way back in 1974, Sikkim's per capita income was 700 rupees, much higher than what Pema said of Nepal and Bhutan also. Today, our per capita income would be more than 7 lakh rupees. So look what we did in 50 years. Our GDP, gross domestic product, in 1980-81, 5 years after was 52 crore, just 52 crore. Today our GDP is almost 48,936 crore. You can imagine what is the degree of benefits of what Karma rightly said of integrations between India and no state in the Northeast, possibly in India, has shown such kind of, what you call it, galloping jumps in the development process. Poverty. I was looking through some of the documents in 1975, and a kind of broad estimates, Sikkim had people between 60 to 70% of the people were below poverty line. That was Ratan Dandekar's calculations and the reports, right? And today, we have 2% of the populations below poverty line, almost 18,000 people. And you will be surprised, we are the fourth least poverty-stricken state in India after Goa, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala. Revenue, look at the revenue. I'm just looking through the old documents during 1890s when the first political officer was appointed and the first budget was done. Our total budget that time was total revenue was 20,336 rupees, right? And the most of the 67% of the revenue came from land. And at that time also we had a revenue surplus. Today we have a revenue of almost 3,073 crore of our own. Plan development, I would like to keep all these documents somewhere in Sikkim and let our children study, because the two generations have done after 1975. Say, for example, when the first plan happened, 7-year plan in Sikkim in between 1954 and 60, the total outlay was 3 crore, right? And what was this 3 crore used for? I just wanted to flip through. So when I went to the British India Library in London, they have all these documents, because the J.C. White, the first political officer in Sikkim, gave all these documents to the British India Library. So when I went to this, you'll be surprised that most of these resources were used in transport and communications, because it was for the first time in 1954, no jeepable roads were available within Sikkim. So the first plan of 54-61 used much of the resources in the jeepable roads, right? And the second one was they used it for hydroelectricity development projects. After Darjeeling did the first hydropower project in 1897 in Sidrapong, and Nepal did in 1911, and Chengdu in Sichuan in China did in 1937. Sikkim did for the first time in 1927 is Rangkichu, right? After that, it keeps doing this. But you will be surprised. The hydropower capacity of Sikkim, even in 1972, was 3 megawatt. Can you imagine? 3 megawatt. Today, it's almost over 1,500, 2,000 megawatt if the glove had not happened. Therefore, what I also feel is, if you look back, what happened in Sikkim in the last 50 years, we have the best SDG, Sustainable Development Goals indicators in the state. We have the highest number of tourist arrivals. I was just seeing what were the number of tourists in 1974-75. Somebody said it is 12,000. The maximum was 18,000. Today it's 15 lakh. So it's a very, very interesting story. But what I would like to mention here is something about how did it happen. It happened precisely because of 7 layers of integration in Sikkim. Many of us forget that the integration can have several dimensions, right? First was a geographical integration, right? The second was political integrations. All the democratic institutions and democratic practices were ushered into Sikkim. Then the second was constitutional integrations. 371F very clearly shows that we became a very, very, inevitable part of the Indian constitution. Then you have institutional integrations, technological integrations, you had development integrations, and more critically, we had emotional integrations. So today, when we celebrate 50th anniversary of Sikkim's statehood within the Union of India, I think we should celebrate in these 7, what you call it, critical dimensions, and that each dimension would give you absolutely a different versions about how Sikkimese contributed in the integration process with India, rest of India, and how rest of India contributed to the Sikkimese integration process in a kind of a robust and resilient manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I've just been told that we are running out of time. I'll come to Kunalda first. We are looking at, since we are from media space here, you mentioned that you worked with many journalists in Sikkim while you were stationed, or like when you were looking after the edition in North Bengal. But what should the future look like, right? Karma just mentioned that if tomorrow Sikkim needs to get its voice heard in the rest of the country, it probably does not have the platforms existing or the support systems existing in newsrooms. So, God forbid, something like that happens. We have to prepare for it. What do you think Sikkim needs to do, us journalists, and what do we need to do to make those introductions, to break into the newsrooms, not just as correspondents and reporters, but people at the desk, people taking editorial decisions? What is stopping Sikkim from reaching that, journalists from Sikkim from reaching that level? Or what should it do? What do we need to start doing? I think there are some people from the universities here, so your answer could be directed at them as well. People from? Universities are here, so do we need to prepare better courses? The idea being, how does Sikkim break into the newsrooms where editorial decisions are taken?
Personally speaking, I don't think journalism can be taught. It's not a graduation course or a diploma course. A journalist is someone who has it in him. A journalist is someone who looks around the world, his present surroundings and the larger areas, and asks questions and observes. A journalist is someone who talks to people and finds out different opinions about one issue and then sifts through these answers to arrive at one logical, rational conclusion about that thing. So you can have hundreds, this is entirely my personal opinion. I don't have any idea about what these mass communication places teach. They can, I think they teach about media penetration, but I don't think they can build a reporter. A reporter can be built in the newsroom. A reporter can be built in the ground. As I discovered during my interaction with people, the reporters in North Bengal and Sikkim, was that they were, especially during, let me mention the earthquake. I think Bijoy was there with the telegraph, and we were some 600 kilometers away, though we even felt the tremors, and there was some effect in Calcutta as well, and in the districts. But Bijoy became our eyes and ears, and went through that difficult times to get us the precise information of what was happening on the ground. He brought us heart-wrenching stories about survival, stories about bravery, stories about how people became inherently resilient in the aftermath of the earthquake to rebuild. So I think that, anywhere, it's not only true for Sikkim. it's true for any other state or any other corner of the world where journalists have to be some people, a man or a woman, a boy or a girl, who inculcates the idea of questioning the surroundings and getting answers. So I think that is something that has to be, taught to the people
Yeah,
who want to come to the profession.
What Kunalda is saying very politely is that all of us have to first become better journalists, and then we can break into any newsroom down the line. So coming to you, Karma, I mean, given your experience, and a lot of people would see your return with East Mojo as coming back to the roots, but I think even there you are breaking new ground. You didn't come back to Sikkim, you went to Guwahati, which is as alien for a Sikkim person as Delhi or Bombay is. So from your experience, what do you think needs to be done for the fear that you raised? Like Sikkim will need to have more people in the newsrooms for the moment when it needs to be heard. So what do you think the younger people in the audience and also the older? So let's look at it as individually what we need to do and what do the institutions need to provide by way of support for something like that to happen?
So having come back and looked at, I'll just bring us back to the topic. How far has Sikkim been integrated into the national mainstream in these 50 years while preserving its distinct identity? अब यो लास्ट को जुन चाहिँ सेन्टेन्स छ, while preserving its distinct identity, त्यहाँ चाहिँ खतरा छ. There's a lot of danger there. के गर्नु पर्ने हो, हामीले कहाँ हेर्नु पर्ने हो? मैले अब घर भित्र आएर हेर्दा, for me, my first home is India, my second home is Sikkim, and then I go back to Rabangla, which is my village. तर मैले भित्र आएर हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ what I have seen, number one, which hurts every time I hear it, is the word 371F. है? यति साह्रो carelessly use गर्छ हामीले. It is an article given to us by the Constitution of India. It protects us. It is a sacred article which we all Sikkimis must work together to protect. तर के हुन्छ, अलिकति केही भयो, अलिकति यहाँ कहीँ लाग्यो भने पनि 371F, केही भयो भने 371F भनेर भोलि त्यो लगिदियो भने कहाँ जाने हामी? So we have to be careful about that. Now second thing, we are talking about integration with the rest of India. मैले हेर्दा मेरो घरभित्रै disintegration भइरहेछ. Every community यता गइरहेछ, उता गइरहेछ, कता गइरहेछ. हामी सानो हुँदा हामी भन्थ्यौँ सिक्किमिज. अब 50 इयर्समा हामीले त्यो हेर्नुपर्छ. हामी सँगै छ कि छैन? अरे तँ त्यो हो, तँ त्यो, तँ भोटे, उता जा, यो यता भनेर भन्. That is one of the issues that I see. As a journalist, as a person who has studied outside, who has worked outside, there we have to come together. अब सरले भन्नुभयो हाम्रो नानीहरू एक्सेल गर्दैछ. तर हाम्रो नानीहरू कति % एक्सेल गर्दैछ? 5%, 2%, 1%. But 99% त घरमै छ नि. उनीहरूले भोलि के गर्ने? Have we thought about it? अब 50 years पुग्दाखेरि चाहिँ I think this is the right time to think about this. कि what will our youth do? हाम्रो youth को लागि चाहिँ भोलि उनीहरूले हामीलाई न्यू खोज्न आयो, ओइ तैँले के गरिस् हाम्रो लागि भने हाम्रोमा जब छ. अब 50 इयर्समा चाहिँ यसको माथि हामीले चिन्तन गर्नुपर्ने हो. अर्को कुरा जहिले पनि हाम्रो नर्थ इस्टको हाम्रो यङ लिडर्स कनेक्ट छ, हाम्रो अलग अलग स्टेटको चिफ मिनिस्टर, एमएलएस हामी हुनुहुन्छ, हामी सबैले एउटा एसोसिएसन बनाएको छ. त्यसमा एभ्री टाइम वी गो टु द गभर्मेन्ट अफ इन्डिया एन्ड से हाम्रो पनि त हिस्ट्री लेख नि त हौ, हाम्रो पनि त हिस्ट्री रेस्ट अफ द इन्डियाले पढोस् न. वी हेभ गट सिग्निफिकेन्ट हिस्ट्री. तर प्रब्लम के छ यहाँ सरले भने चाहिँ वी आवर सेल्फ्स डोन्ट नो आवर हिस्ट्री. अब अर्कालाई कहाँबाट भन्नु जानु हिस्ट्री? यहाँ हामी बसेको कतिजनालाई याद छ हिस्ट्री? मलाई पनि याद छैन. सो वी हेभ टु लुक एट दिस थिङ्स. सो आई थिङ्क इट्स अ पिभिटल मोमेन्ट. अब 50 इयर्स भनेर सोच्नु हुँदैन. वी हेभ टु लुक एट दिस थिङ्स. and invest in knowledge. Organic पनि गरौँ, सरले भनेपछि अब let us try to grow and harvest knowledge. That is what I want to
Right.
do.
Yes, that's a good enough note to close. I've just been saying, yes, you want to say something? We've just been like so quickly.
Quickly, you know, we have three significant challenges today in Sikkim for at least
Closer,
next 50 years. First is the traditional threats have undergone a drastic change. Our major concern used to be traditional threat like military threat from China and all kinds of things. Today we are more concerned in the next 50 years would be non-traditional security threats. That includes GLOF, cross-border environmental injuries, genetic piracy, gene piracy. Our genes are taken to across the border, converted into genes they like and exported back to Sikkim. Very few people have realized these issues. Our entire cropping pattern, livelihood pattern is going to be affected. But more importantly, I think we should do 4 or 5 significant things in Sikkim. We must use our soft power. We don't have any hard power, right? We have our soft power. We have our food, music, culture, sports, fashion designs. All these things we really have to use it in terms of making our supply chains with Southeast Asian countries, with East Asian countries, and that is a part of Honorable Prime Minister's Actist policy. So I suggest 5 critical things which we should do in the course of next 5 years or 50 years. First is, whenever I come to Gangtok, I feel suffocated because it's so crowded. So can we think of an alternative new Gangtok townships? It takes 20 years, 25 years to really build a very resilient, robust, which has a very strong carrying capacity. So I think we should really look forward to that. The second is, let's not bring all kinds of investors. Many of the investors today in Sikkim are all based on what you call the NIIPP, NEIDAs or Unnati. That means as long as you give them this relief or that relief, this discount or that kind of facilities, they stay here. The moment they withdraw, they go back. So what we have to do is attract new generation investors. The Vietnamese, the Singaporeans, the Thais, the Koreans, the Japanese are willing to come to Sikkim, right? That's why we have a new industrial policy today in the state. Even if you are able to bring 5 good investors, that would have such a huge demonstration effect in the state. And I think we should do that. My third part is, I think we should now do, yes, we have electricity, but we must do electricity trading now. I was just checking the data. Bhutan generates about 1,600 megawatt, and it earns almost about 1,800 crore per annum by just exporting electricity to India. Now we have a cross-border electricity trading guidelines given by Government of India that you can export electricity among these 4 countries, Bhutan, Nepal, Bangladesh, India, possibly it will be joined by Myanmar. And in that case, Sikkim should be a major critical part in this energy trading issues. My last point is, we must play a major role in the international negotiation process, right? One opportunity is given by TISTA negotiation between India and Bangladesh. 80% of TISTA flows in Sikkim. But when it comes to really representations of negotiations between India and Bangladesh, right? Government of India, West Bengal government, and Bangladesh happens. Why not Sikkim? We have been saying this. Sikkim should be a part of the hydro diplomacy project. The last is, of course, do a huge program on climate change, right? We are at the core of entire climate change dynamics. We have seen that GLOF. When I wrote the Human Development Report in 2001, we have clearly written that Sikkim is going to be a victim of GLOF. It happened after 22 years in 23. But where is the awakening in Sikkim today also? Why not we have a massive climate change center where our graduates, our Buddha Pakas will all participate in this project and say to the global world that we do the real adaptations and mitigations. Thank you.
Yes, thank you to all the panelists. Thank you also for being such a patient audience. I hope the discussions were interesting for you as they were riveting for me. There's a lot of things that were shared today. I hope some of that leads to some policy interventions. And thank you for sharing your ideas. And congratulations, Sikkim, Press Club, IPR department.
Thank you very much.
And thank you.
All right, thank you so much to our lovely panelists, and of course thank you to Sir Prema for beautifully moderating this session.
What a rich and thought-provoking exchange of ideas we've just witnessed. This conversation has not only illuminated Sikkim's integration into the national mainstream, but also reaffirmed the enduring strength of its cultural identity and dignity.
From constitutional inclusion to cultural preservation, from national visibility to local pride, the Insight Shared Story have offered clarity, depth and inspiration for the path that lies ahead.
On behalf of the organizing committee, I extend a heartfelt gratitude to all the distinguished panelists for their wisdom, and to our moderator, Mr. Pema Wangchuk, for leading this session with such depth, grace and journalistic insight.
So, I would like to request the chairperson of our first session, Honorable Minister Sir Sonam Lama, to kindly come on stage so that we can present the mementos and the goodies to our panelists and the moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a big round of applause for the Honorable Minister, Shri Sonam Lama. Thank you so much to all the panelists, Professor Mahendra P. Lama, Sir Kunal Sen Gupta, and of course, a seasoned journalist, Karma Palja, and our moderator, Pema Wangchuk. We gladly present this memento and a goodie to a very, very seasoned journalist and a senior journalist, Kunal Sen Gupta. Moving forward, ladies and gentlemen, a memento to the Chief Economic Advisor to the Chief Minister of Sikkim, Mr. Professor Mahendra P. Lama. Let's now hand over the memento to the son of soil, ladies and gentlemen, the winner of Ramnath Goenka Award 2 times, Mr. Karma Palja. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we present this memento to the moderator, Mr. Pema Wangchuk, for beautifully moderating this session. Thank you so much. Can we have a group photo session with the moderator and the panelists? Can we have a quick photo op? Can we have a group photo op? All right, so we have a media corner set up right outside this hall, and I request the journalists and of course our media friends, if you are interested to interview our panelists, you are open, and of course you can proceed towards media corner and take your respective bites. Ladies and gentlemen, before now moving on for the next session, which has been titled Invest in Sikkim, we'll take a short break, and of course we have a brief presentation by
Tathya Band, who will be presenting their live music for 15 minutes. So sit back and enjoy.
All right, see you after a short while. Thank you so much.
Over to Tathya Band.
Nagaland Sarkar डियर 500 सुपर मंथली लॉटरी पहिलो पुरस्कार 2.5 करोड ग्यारेन्टी टिकट 500 रुपैयाँ पहिलो पुरस्कार बिक्री भएका टिकटबाट ड्र 24 मई डियर 500 सुपर मंथली लॉटरीमा 2.5 करोड विजेता प्रियंका के तपाई हुनुहुन्छ यसपालिको करोडपति।
अब तपाईको शहर जलपाइगुडी र सिलगुडीमा बर्लिया ह्युन्डाई अधिकृत डिलर तपाईको लागि हामीसँग छ 3 सुविधा सेल्स सर्भिस र स्पेयर पार्ट्स। नयाँ कार बिक्री सँगै हामी तपाईको ह्युन्डाई कारको लागि वर्कशप मर्मत बडी शप इन्स्योरेन्स क्लेम सजिलो फाइनान्स कार एक्सचेन्ज र इन्स्योरेन्स रिन्युअल सुविधा पनि दिन्छौं। ह्युन्डाई कार कम मर्मत खर्च उच्च विश्वसनीयता। हामी सबै ब्रान्डका पुराना कारहरू किनबेच गर्छौं र ह्युन्डाई युजर कारहरू वारेन्टी सहित उपलब्ध गराउँछौं। अब कार किन्ने बेच्ने वा सर्भिस गर्ने बर्लिया ह्युन्डाई तपाईको पहिलो रोजाई। ठेगाना बर्लिया कम्प्लेक्स 2nd माइल सेवा क्रॉस सिलिगुडी। संपर्क नम्बर 9734930001।
समयमा रोपेको बिरुवाले बेला बेला मलजल पाए एक दिन रुख भएर फलफुल दिन्छ। त्यसरी नै एसआईपीमा ससानो रकम लगाउनु गर्दै गरी ती रकमहरू भविष्यमा ठूलो रूप लिन सक्छ एवं तपाईले धनवान पनि बनाउन सक्छ। घर बनाउन, उच्च शिक्षा लिन, सुख साधन किन्न, सम्मानित रिटायरमेन्ट जीवन जिउन होसमा जोश मिलाई एसआईपी में लगानी गरी भविष्य बनाउनुहोस्।
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार के जोखिमों के अधीन है। योजना से जुड़े सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
एसके लाइफ मीडिया करियर गाइडेन्स 10औं वा 12औं पछि के गर्ने सोचिरहनु भएको छ? उत्कृष्ट डिप्लोमा कोर्सहरू प्यारामेडिकल, एभिएसन, फ्यासन डिजाइनिङ, ग्राफिक डिजाइनिङ, होटल म्यानेजमेन्ट, इभेन्ट म्यानेजमेन्ट, इन्टेरियर डिजाइनिङ, ब्युटिशियन कोर्स, फोटोग्राफी आदि। हामी दिन्छौं विशेषज्ञहरूद्वारा व्यक्तिगत मार्गदर्शन, टप संस्थानको निशुल्क भ्रमण, करियर योजनामा सहयोग। अब किन पर्खाइमा? एसके लाइफ करियर गाइडेन्स इनिसिएटिभसँग जोड्नुहोस्। एसके लाइफ मिडिया तपाईको सपना पूरा गर्ने साथी। सम्पर्क गर्नुहोस् 8768384858।